Hey, Richard Bryce here. In this video, what I'm going to be focusing on is the backhand unit turn. So I want to help you to understand the backhand unit turn a little bit better and show you some ways to practice it and work on it that you might not have seen before, because it's such an important piece of the puzzle and it's something that a lot of people struggle with for a specific reason. So I'll explain what that is in the video, but I hope you find it helpful. If you do, it'd be great if you give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, it would also be fantastic if you could do that as well. Okay, so the unit turn is a really important part of your preparation to hit your backhand, and as you know, the better your preparation, the better chance you've got of executing your shot well. Now, when coaches talk about the unit turn, what they're on about is the rotation of the upper body and the arms and the shoulders and the racket at the same time. We know that we've got to kind of get the racket back, but most of that comes from rotating the upper body, because if I just stay in my ready position, I rotate, my racket is almost back where it needs to be for my shot. So if my single hander, then it's going to come up to there somewhere. If I'm a double hander, it'll be back there somewhere. But we've done most of that by rotating the body. Now, when it comes to there's a couple of other things we need to talk about, but one of the key things when we're talking about the backhand is that as you rotate, you're going to be changing your grip. And this is something that a lot of players struggle with. It's something you just want to practice over and over again. So if you're new or you're struggling, I highly advise working on this stuff without the ball, without worrying about all that stuff, and just groove it in so that if you're a single hander, you're practicing changing that grip, because you're probably starting in your forehand grip, so you're going to be changing your grip as you rotate your body. If you're a double hander, potentially you're starting up here, maybe you're starting down there, but either way, you're adjusting that grip as you rotate your body. So you want to just practice that over and over again, make sure that you can get the relevant grip change as you turn your upper body. But what I want you to think about is that you don't just rotate your upper body. You want to program this in and also make sure that you're turning your foot, you're pivoting your outside foot, so it's pointing out. So we're going to work on some drills in a moment to help you with this, but you're going to be rotating your upper body and pivoting this foot at the same time, because you want to get your pelvis and your upper body pointing that way. The way that we use our body efficiently to hit ground strokes and to hit the backhand is we're going to drive from the back hip. So it comes from the back hip, we drive through the hip, then our torso rotates, then the arm and racket comes through. So we're basically setting ourselves up for that. So we need to get that unit turn and the pivot, so that then if we step into a neutral stance, we can hip, torso, racket through there. It'd be the same on the two-hander. And if we're hitting from an open stance, we've still got our hips pointing that way, we've got our pelvis pointing that way, because we're still going to be hitting, driving through the hips, then the torso, then the shoulder. And again, it'll be the same on the double hander. We still need to get our pelvis pointing that way so that we can hit through from there. So what I want you to do is thinking about doing them both together and programming them both together. So you've got to get the upper body turns, you've got to get that foot pivoted, and there's a couple of ways that we can do that, which we'll talk about in a second, and you've got to practice changing your grip at the same time. Okay, so I'm going to show you a really funny way to practice this, but it's basically going to be a coordination exercise to help get your body working better so that you can do this unit turn better and prepare for your strokes. After we've done this, we're then going to make it a little bit more challenging, which I think you'll really enjoy. So the first thing we're going to do, obviously we're landing from our split step. I'm going to start with a one-handed backhand. I want you to just work on the unit turn. So you've got to do enough repetitions of that so it becomes automatic. So I'm keeping my feet where they are, and I'm just practicing doing the unit turn with my upper body and changing my grip. So whether you're a single hander or double hander, that's going to be the first part that you've got to work on. You've got to just practice rotating that upper body and changing your grip at the same time, because it has to be an automatic process for you. The next thing I want you to do is practice pivoting on its own. So you won't be doing this when you play, but I want you to practice it for a reason, just because we're trying to train your body to do certain things. Now, when you do this, you can actually practice this stepping out, you can practice it keeping it where it is, or you can practice it bringing your foot in. They're all going to be important for the different types of footwork that you're going to need. So it's a good idea to practice all of them. But we'll do upper body alone, then foot alone, and then we'll do upper body followed by foot. Upper body, foot. Upper body, foot. And then we'll do the reverse sequence. Foot, upper body. Now this isn't what's going to happen when you play, but I just want you to train your body to work in a certain way. So foot, upper body, foot, upper body, foot, upper body. And then work on doing them both together. So foot and upper body, foot and upper body, foot and upper body. And you're just doing enough repetitions and until this becomes automatic, because the golden rule here is if you can't do something without the ball, you won't be able to do it when the ball's there. So you've just got to accumulate enough repetitions, changing your grip, whether it's a single or double hander, being able to rotate your upper body, and then work on the different combinations just to make it so that when you get into a situation on court, your brain has seen it a gazillion times and you'll just be able to do it automatically. Okay, so once you've got the hang of that, the next thing I want you to work on is I want you to work on adding in the first movement and the initial step to the ball. And the reason I want you to practice this over and over again is because it's actually really hard for a lot of people. So many players struggle with preparing late on their backhand, and one of the big reasons is firstly they just haven't practiced that part enough, but also because the movement is really weird. Like, it's very unnatural compared to real life. I grew up playing tennis, so it's a little bit more normal for me, but if you started this later in life, it's kind of unusual. Normally, if I'm going to go that way, then I'll face that way and my head will go that way. But when we're playing tennis, we're looking down the other end of the court as we're moving in this direction. So that is actually a really challenging thing for your body to do because of the way the visual balance system and movement systems work. So this is why so many players struggle with the movement to the ball and being prepared early, basically because they just can't do this part. So I want you to make sure that that isn't a problem for you and practice this stuff over and over again, get your body used to it, and then it will just happen when you play. So what we're going to be doing is, and I'll just use a single-handed backhand for this because it's the one that I do more often, but you understand that you want to practice this if you're a double-hander, it's going to be the same stuff. So I'll be landing from the split step, and now we're going to work on two different types of step, because how we move to the ball is a little bit different depending on how far it is away. When the ball's a bit closer, we're going to be shuffling. Often on the backhand, we're going to be stepping in, but we're going to be shuffling. If the ball is further away, we're going to be bringing our foot back in, driving across, and then again, often on the backhand, we're going to be stepping across ourselves. But I want you to practice that first move first. So you're going to work on split step, and when I do this unit turn and pivot here, now I'm stepping out. So rather than bringing my foot underneath, I'm stepping out and I'm following it with the other leg, like so. So you want to practice that over and over again, so that as I turn my upper body, I'm changing my grip and I'm getting the pivot and the movement, and the more times you practice it, the better. Now I want to give you a sneaky little vision drill in here, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. But what I highly recommend you do is choose something to look at down the other end of the court, or if you're practicing this at home, just look at something on the far wall, because when you're moving like this in tennis, you have to watch the ball at the same time. And again, this sounds silly, but this is challenging stuff, and it's why so many people struggle. So for me, I'm out on the court, I'm going to look at the number that's at the back of the court, so as I do this movement, I've got my eyes focused on it. So I'm training my vision and my movement at the same time in the way that we would when we play. So you're just going to practice it. And like I said, from there, we can step in, we can hit a neutral stance, we can step across ourselves into more of a closed stance. We can also step in and do an open stance. So that's the first one to practice. The second one is going to be slightly different. Instead of stepping out as we pivot, this time we're going to be bringing the foot back underneath us, because by doing that we can then push and we can cover more ground. So you just got to practice it. So I'm going to turn my unit as I bring my foot underneath, drive across. Turn as I bring my foot underneath, drive across. And then once you've got the hang of it, then you can start to increase the speed and kind of work on how much ground you can cover. And just like I said a moment ago, you can add in a little bit of sneaky vision training to make this more realistic and really prepare your body for the part that so many people struggle with. So I'm looking at the number down the other end of the court and driving across. And that's it. So Obviously this stuff looks a little bit artificial in isolation, and it might seem like a little bit of overkill breaking it down and practicing like this, but it really isn't. This is the stuff that holds so many players back and prevents them from developing a backhand, because if you can't get to the ball, you can't hit it. If you can't get set up in time and in a good position, your chances of executing and doing all the other stuff that come after it is really tricky. So working on your unit turn and programming in this footwork along with it can be very beneficial. But something I want to mention before I finish the video is a big part of this is your ability to recognize where the ball's going. So we've got those two different types of movement to the ball with the unit turn. One for closer, one for further away. Well, that's based on you quickly reading where your opponent hits the shot. So I hit my ball, I land from my split step there, just after they've made contact. Hopefully I know where the ball's going, so then I can use the appropriate footwork to get there. The problem is, a lot of adult tennis players, as well as not having this movement, their visual system isn't quite precise enough to read the ball and predict where it's going quickly enough, and because of it, that also affects their ability to prepare and do this unit turn properly. So the good news is vision is something that can be trained with really simple drills, and I've created a free program to help you with it. I'll place the link down below in the description, and I'll place the link up there in the corner that's going to allow you to get hold of this free vision program. So if you work on the unit turn, program this footwork, and obviously this is stuff that you can all do at home. And then when you get out on court, stuff is just going to work better, you'll be in better positions, and hopefully it'll allow you to hit a better quality of shot. So I hope this has been beneficial for you. If it has, it'd be great if you give me a thumbs up. If you've got any questions or comments about what I've shown you here, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.